Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at the Hub today for the Cultural Futures Festival. It's lovely to see you all here. Just to start by telling you a little bit more about me, I'm Dee Chainey Jones, the Director of the Cultural Futures Foundry, and I'm your host today. So we've all arrived here in the Hub, and it's quite a strange experience. It's really new to a lot of people, I'm sure. So let me tell you a little bit about it. It's an inclusive virtual space to gather, connect and share ideas. It's built by the Cultural Futures Foundry, which I run, and it's hosted on Spatial.io. The Hub is a digital community centre for meaningful conversations, collaboration and live events. And most importantly to me, it's accessible from anywhere on a range of different devices, from a virtual reality headset, a laptop, a computer, or even on a mobile phone. It's not totally inclusive because there are still some people who don't have access to those things, but I do feel like it's something we're working towards. This is a community space that anybody can access from wherever they are without many of the barriers that usually stop people coming to real life events, whether they're financial, mobility barriers, or other types of access barriers. We have people from all over the world here today, and that's another barrier, geographic and time zone barriers that we've overcome by being here. It is accessible, which makes it more inclusive, and that's one of the really important things to me. The mission of the Hub is to facilitate community-led conversations at live events in inclusive digital spaces to collaboratively define positive innovation within the cultural sector. In more simple terms, it's about creating a space for communities to talk about making positive change. And the concept there is that we'll all get involved in the change that we want to see in the future. The vision is to create more reflective and socially conscious cultural futures that embed social value and harness tech for good. What does that really mean? My vision of the future that I'd like to see is for people to reflect more on what they're doing, to be more aware and conscious of how we're dealing with other people, how our actions and our words and the things we do in our lives, the things we do every day, impact other people, and use that to create more socially conscious cultural futures. In essence, it means asking ourselves, what kind of societies are we creating? What cultures are we creating around us? How are we creating communities? They're the things that build the future. And what's the future we actually want to see? So here's the schedule for day one. It will run from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock, with half an hour lunch break at around 12:15. We will also have comfort breaks throughout the day. First of all, we have this session here, introducing the day and the themes. Next, we'll have a presentation about the Folklore Without Borders project from Dr. Paul Cowdell and Dr. Matthew Cheeseman. Following that, there'll be a presentation on folklore and communities of violence from Dr. Andrew Fergus Wilson. Then we'll have the lunch break at 12:15. After lunch, we'll have the group discussion, and we'll be answering the question, what are cultural futures? I'm hoping we can get a really nice discussion going about what that means to other people and the things we might find important there. That will all become much clearer later in the day. The term cultural futures is complex, but I do think by the end of the day, and certainly the weekend, it's a concept you'll come to like. I hope so. There's no pressure for anybody to speak out loud if they don't want to. There's a chat box here where you can add text at the bottom of the page. You can just type into that instead, and I'll watch that throughout the day. And those comments are visible to everybody in the space. The group discussion will be followed by a panel question and answer session on inclusive community engagement with Dr. Caroline Oates, Mark Norman, Joanna Veranda and Dr. Kath Bannister. And if you do have any questions you'd like to ask at that panel, there will be an opportunity after the session. However, it would be really helpful, both for me and for the speakers, if you were to think of questions you'd like to ask them in advance and send them over, put them in the chat. Now, just a few conference reminders. We want to make the weekend as inclusive as possible. So if everyone could try their best to do just 3 things. Firstly, mute your microphone, unless asking a question or commenting. And it would be great if you could leave questions and comments to the end of each session, which will make it more inclusive for everybody. Secondly, I'm aware everyone finds it more comfortable to get involved in an event in different ways. We want to welcome all of those ways, and we also want to make sure it works for everybody. If you'd like to stay seated, you can take the first few seats in the front rows. If it's more comfortable for you to stand or move around, can you take the seats at the back of the room? Because people at the front won't be able to see if people are standing or moving in front of them. The one big rule about movement is please do not sit on other people in the same chair. This can feel very invasive. If someone does that to you, please just stand up and move out of your chair. And if I don't notice that happening, send a message in the chat and I will remove the person from the space. Thirdly, it's important that everyone feels comfortable. Please do just relax. It's a very new space. People are all getting used to walking around. We're all walking through each other. We're all half standing through chairs and walls. And that's okay. I want it to really be a comfortable, safe space for everybody. So everybody's new at this, so please don't feel self-conscious if that happens. And the most important part of that is to just enjoy yourself.